My first guests tonight are American patriots. They're veterans, and we honored their service this past week, but they're here with a warning about the wokeness in the military that threatens to undermine American values, and it could even be a national security threat. But they're working to counter that threat to our freedom and stand up for our country. Would you please welcome to the show Tom Burbidge, a veteran Navy pilot with more than 3,000 flight hours under his belt. He also served as Executive Vice President and General Manager of the F-35 and F-22 program at Lockheed Martin. Lieutenant General Rod Bishop, 34 years in the U.S. Air Force and commanded the 3rd Air Force at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. He's now president of Stand Together Against Racism and Radicalism in the Services, called STARS. And Kendall Qualls, who served as an artillery officer in the U.S. Army and now president of Take Charge, championing hard work, education, faith, family, and free enterprise in the pursuit of the American dream for everyone. By the way, he's also a former congressional candidate. Gentlemen, welcome, all of you. So good to have you, and thank you for joining us on this show in which we're saluting our veterans. Tom, I want to start with you because you and I have had some personal conversations over the past year or so. There's some things going on in the military that, as someone who graduated from the Naval Academy, served our country, and has continued to serve it even in the private sector, I know it's been disturbing. So what do you see happening that you feel like a lot of Americans are unaware of?
Well, Governor, I sense there's a lot of vets in the audience out here, so I'd like to put it in kind of in terms of how a veteran would see it. And that is that there's two words that are fundamental to military readiness and esprit de corps and leadership, and that's pride and trust. And it's pride in your country, it's pride in the unit you serve in, it's trusting the guy next to you. Those things are so important, and we see some storm clouds coming that actually threaten both of those directly.
And General, you know, when I'm thinking about what's happening in our service academies, there's all indication that some of the curriculum is now focusing on critical race theory, maybe not in name, but basically saying that America's an evil country, that our origins were bad and that they need to be fixed and we need to apologize for them. And yet the military has historically been the one place that is a true meritocracy. What's happened in our military since people like you and Tom and Kendall have served?
It's a great question, Governor. I wish we knew the answer to that. One thing that binds all of us together up here, and I think your audience, is a great love and a passionate love for America, right?
Yeah.
Right? What is happening to the leadership and why they're taking the military down the path, we can only conjecture it. But we do know with great certainty that it's happening, and we do know that the negative effects on readiness are pretty evident, and potentially in the future, retention and recruiting as well.
Kendall, when you signed up for the military several years ago, did you ever feel like that you were disadvantaged because you were a person of color, that somehow that made it so that you would never be able to be treated fairly and equally?
You know, what's interesting, Governor, is that in the military, and especially in the Army with serving, it is so much about we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
We're all Army green, and we're here with something bigger than ourselves. And it was the one place where meritocracy was something that you can count on as far as promotion opportunities and other opportunities. It was the one area that was a model for the rest of the country to emulate.
There was a famous moment at which Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, really kind of just laid it out that his biggest concern as a military leader is whether or not we're going to understand white rage. I want to watch this. I want to get your reactions to it.
And the United States Military Academy is a university, and it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it.
Tom Burbidge, you were a graduate of the Naval Academy. I mean, that's a pretty big deal to get in. It's an even bigger deal to get through it and live to tell about it, and yet you're one of those folks. He was talking about the military academies being places where we are better trained for white rage. How important was that when you went through to become a naval aviator, one of the toughest jobs in the military?
It was not a term I ever heard before these days.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that was taught. It wasn't something that existed as far as I knew there. Just didn't see it.
You started the organization with others called the Calvert Group, and these are all guys that you graduated with at the Naval Academy. What has motivated you guys, and what are you able to start seeing happen among your brethren from the Naval Academy and the Navy in general?
We're seeing awareness is probably the biggest thing, Mike. People just haven't seemed to be aware of what's happening to the country and to the services, and even more important, to the K through 12 school system, which has suddenly become, a magnet for parents that are able to look over their children's shoulder and see what's being taught. All those things sort of converge at the service academy level because that's the candidate pool coming in, and the tops-down social engineering is forming these kinds of opinions. So it's a real tough job right now. I did go to the Naval Academy recently, and I did meet with the superintendent, and he's been looking into it, and he told me that he hasn't found any evidence of systemic racism, which was encouraging to me, that they've been sort of forced to look at it, but they haven't really found anything there. So it just hasn't been, it's not part of your upbringing when you're in the service. You're in the service for all the reasons that Kendall and Rod said. You're not there to separate classes or look at the skin color or anything else. We all bleed red.
And generally, it would seem that the most important thing is that the people who are in the military are ready to fight and die, not be understood. I guess if it's all about feelings, maybe I didn't understand something, but I doubt when you went into the military, somebody told you that it really mattered how you felt.
You're 100% correct. I think on the same day of the clip that you said, our Secretary of Defense said, we're not teaching critical race theory. To a degree, he's right. They're not teaching the theory like you teach communism or Marxism. They are indoctrinating our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, guardians with the tenets of critical race theory, and that's what's dangerous. So that's why you add that together with the love of the country. That's why we're standing up and saying, this has got to stop.
And I think we're so grateful that those of you who have served are not just saying, well, you know what, that's something for the younger veterans to worry about. Kendall, speak to the practical impact. If we change our military focus from readiness, from teamwork, camaraderie, sacrifice for each other, to this sense of making sure that nobody gets their feelings hurt and that we all are able to have social justice. What is the practical effect of that in terms of if America has to go to war? What happens?
Well, here's the issue with that, Governor. You know what? We'll have a bunch of social justice warriors in uniform instead of real warriors that we need to win battles. That's the issue. And if I can take exception to the general's comments that he made, because it's a false narrative.
General Milley.
General Milley. Yeah.
Not this general.
Not this, yeah.
I love this general.
He really wanted to make sure we got that right. I don't blame you, General.
I'm talking this one.
Yeah,
this
okay.
One. Here's the reality that I share publicly. This is the least racist period in our country's history, and the least racist country in the world.
Yeah.
And I say that reality. My parents grew up in the Jim Crow South. Yeah. My father-in-law, who served for 30 years in the Army, grew up in the state of Tennessee when it was still in Jim. They would have loved to have grown up in the America that I grew up in. We don't talk about our progress enough in this country of where we are today.
Can I just say not only thank you, but you have demonstrated something remarkable here. We've got a guy from the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army, and you haven't even gotten into one single argument the whole time.
Well,
we're joint.
That's because there's no Marines sitting on this.
Oh, there you go. And the Marines in the crowd are going to come up, and it'll get rough now. I want to say thanks to all of you, and there's a lot more. And if you want to learn more about these three great men, I want you to head to our website, Huckabee.tv, because there we have connections where you can get a whole lot more information about the organizations that they have started. And if you are a veteran, or maybe you're serving an active duty, I hope you'll connect through Huckabee.tv, find the link to what they're doing, join their efforts,